双方一致同意建立中美经贸磋商机制，明确双方牵头人就各自关切的经贸问题开展进一步的磋商。中美双方将尽快敲定有关的细节，并且将于5月12日发布会谈达成的联合声明。对这场贸易战，中方的态度始终是十分明确的，也是一贯的，也就是中方不愿意打贸易战，因为贸易战没有赢家。但是如果美方执意把贸易战强加于我们，为了维护我自身利益，中方也绝不惧怕，一定会奉陪到底。在当前的形势下，本次会谈受到了国际社会的高度关注。经过中美双方的共同努力，会谈富有成效，迈出了双方通过平等对话协商解决分歧的重要一步，也为进一步弥合分歧和深化合作打下了基础，创造了条件。中美经贸关系的本质是互利共赢，合作中双方难免会出现一些分歧和摩擦，关键要本着相互尊重、和平共处、合作共赢的原则，通过平等对话协商，及时找到妥善解决问题的办法，以推动中美经贸关系稳定、健康、可持续的发展。我们也愿意同美方一道，积极落实两国元首今年1月17号的通话共识，本着解决问题的务实态度，坦诚对话、平等协商、管控分歧，深挖合作潜力，拉长合作清单，做大合作的蛋糕，推动中美经贸关系取得新的发展，为世界经济注入更多的确定性和稳定性。
中央广播电视总台央视记者提问，请问中方如何看待本次会谈的氛围？谢谢。
正如刚才何副总理评价的，这2天中美两国的经贸团队在日内瓦进行了坦诚、深入和建设性的会谈，达成了重要共识。我觉得这次的会谈体现了以下3个特点：一是相互尊重，双方以两国元首共识为指引，从维护中美经贸关系大局出发，认真听取彼此的关注，充分考虑各自的国情、发展阶段和制度差异，拿出了诚意，推动会谈取得了实质性的进展。二是平等互惠，双方在会谈中照顾彼此的关切和发展利益，秉持理性、客观、务实的精神，相向而行，积极寻找最大公约数，为实现中美经贸关系健康、稳定、可持续发展不断累积条件。双方经贸团队本着专业精神，充分利用各自的专业知识，在有限的2天时间里开展了密集磋商，对中美经贸领域的相关问题进行了坦诚、深入的讨论，为本次达成共识提供了坚实的基础。
来自彭博社哈，我的问题问李部长。首先呢，请您对于这次会议这个决定建立的这个磋商机制，您能不能介绍一些相关的信息？第二个呢是关于提到的明天双方要发的联合声明，我想问一下，大概是什么时间能发？是不是在资本市场开盘之前？
谢谢你的问题。关于机制，刚才何副总理实际上也做了介绍。通过这次的会谈，双方同意建立中美经贸磋商的机制性安排。那么，就中方而言，中方是何立峰副总理作为中美经贸中方牵头人，与美方牵头人共同领导该磋商机制。在双方牵头人的领导下，双方的工作团队将就中美经贸中的问题进行定期和不定期的沟通。未来沟通的时间、地点都将由双方进一步商定。而且现在通讯很发达，电话会、视频会都是沟通的方式。谢谢。对于你的问题的第2部分，我想说的是， 基于中美之间达成的谅解，今天我们不便过多的披露成果的细节。
Reached an agreement on a 90-day pause and substantially moved down the tariff levels. Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%. We had very robust discussions. Both sides showed great respect. It was a chance for me to meet the Chinese delegation. The Vice Premier I had previously had only a video call with, so there was very good personal interaction. Both countries represented their national interests very well. We concluded that we have shared interest, and we both have an interest in balanced trade. The U.S. will continue moving towards that.
With respect to the U.S. Trade position, our interactions with China, and the agreement today, please keep in mind that the United States trade deficit has ballooned over the past several years, ending up at $1.2 trillion deficit in goods as of the end of last year, which was an approximately 42% increase over a few years prior, when there was an $850 billion trade deficit at the beginning of the Biden administration. So that is a rapid and expansive increase in the trade deficit. And our view is that this is driven in large part by non-reciprocal trade, among other things, and the result has been offshoring of manufacturing and other negative impacts on the U.S. economy. And the president elected to impose reciprocal tariffs on April 2 to address this national emergency of the trade deficit. There was a global baseline tariff accompanied by higher reciprocal tariffs for each country depending on the level and intensity of their trade surplus with the United States. In all of this, China was assigned a reciprocal tariff rate of 34%. China was the only country that chose to implement retaliation against the United States. China, as you know, retaliated not only with tariffs but with disproportionate and asymmetrical non-tariff measures, amounting to an embargo in some senses on trade, an effective embargo, which of course was not a sustainable practice for either side. To be very clear, other measures that the United States has put in place in the past, whether it's tariff measures from 2018 or since, tariffs under other statutory authorities, tariffs related to fentanyl, those remain unchanged for now to the side. I'll just make one point, is that both the Chinese and the United States agreed to work constructively together on fentanyl, and there's a positive path forward there as well.
And now with the Chinese, after this weekend, we have a mechanism for continued talks. So process, plan, and mechanism. I would say one of the big takeaways from this weekend, the United States will continue a strategic rebalancing in many areas that were exposed as supply chain weaknesses during COVID, whether it's medicines, whether it's semiconductors, steel, we've identified 5 or 6 strategic industries and supply chain vulnerabilities, and we will continue moving toward U.S. independence or reliable supplies from allies on those. But the consensus from both delegations this weekend is neither side wants a decoupling. And what had occurred with these very high tariffs, as Ambassador Greer said, was the equivalent of an embargo, and neither side wants that. We do want trade. We want more balanced trade, and I think that both sides are committed to achieving that. We would like to see China open to more U.S. goods. We expect that as the negotiations proceed, that there will also be a possibility of purchase agreements to pull what is our largest bilateral trade deficit into balance. That has gotten out of balance, and much of this has happened through neglect over the past 4 years, as the previous administration did not engage on this issue. That was put forward to us by the Chinese, in fact, and we can see it in what happened to the Phase 1 agreement. We are only looking forward, and we look forward to very good discussions now that we have the mechanism created in Geneva this weekend for talks. So the Chinese April 2nd number was 34, continues to be 34%. And just like with all our other trading partners, as long as there is good faith effort, engagement, and constructive dialogue, then we will keep moving forward.
Fentanyl is on its own track, but on a very positive track where we're having very constructive conversations with our Chinese counterparts.
And I would add a couple of things. This does not include any sector-specific tariffs that have been put across all of our trading partners. And as the ambassador said, I think he would agree with me that the upside surprise for me from this weekend was the level of Chinese engagement on the fentanyl crisis in the United States. They brought the Deputy Minister for Public Safety, who is not traditionally part of the trade team or the negotiating team, and he had a very robust and highly detailed discussion with someone from the U.S. National Security Team. A lot of back and forth on various differences in views on fair trade. We informed them, I had a discussion that trade deficits are a result of three things. One, terms of trade. Two, currency. And then three, the United States fiscal position. We informed them that Trump administration is working very hard on containing this out-of-control fiscal deficit that we inherited from the previous administration. Two, there was no discussion on currency. And one, it was on terms of trade. But what we have seen is substantial interaction between bad Chinese actors and many North American drug dealers, especially Mexican cartels.
I would submit it was actually, in the lead up to the negotiation, trying to repair the channels of communication that had atrophied under the last administration, where, our office, for example, the Office of the United States Trade Representative, had almost no substantive discussions with the Chinese side on trade. And although we have significant differences with the Chinese on trade and economics, and we have major complaints, you have to discuss these complaints. You have to have a channel for discussions, and overcoming that was a substantial challenge. And a lot of work went into that over the past several weeks, so that by the time we got here, we were able to be very pragmatic with each other.
And I think we leave with a very good mechanism to avoid the unfortunate escalations as we saw after April 2nd from happening again. What had been very unusual about the relationship was that President Trump, Party Chairman Xi, they have a good relationship, but that the nature of what has happened since April 2nd could have been avoided if we had had this kind of mechanism in place, and I believe it is in place now. And as I reiterated last week, the Trump economic plan is 3 pieces: trade, tax, and deregulation. Trade has been implemented first, and that process is occurring. We believe that the tax portion is going very well. Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune, who I am in constant contact with, believe that midsummer that we will pass, as the president likes to call it, his one big beautiful bill, and we believe that that will provide substantial relief for American households. And then deregulation, a hidden and pernicious tax on American households, is regulation. We believe that the last administration added several $1,000s a year to American families' cost, and that we will be not only cutting those substantial, rolling that back, but cutting those substantially.
No, I disagree entirely. We have spent decades at the World Trade Organization in multilateral and bilateral negotiations trying to get other countries to reduce their tariffs and non-tariff barriers to be more reciprocal with the U.S. We've had one of the most open economies for decades. The promise of the WTO and the multilateral system is that everyone was going to come down. It turns out the U.S. went down significantly. There were other economies that had low tariffs as well, but retained very high non-tariff barriers. We have tried really hard to work within the system, and the net result is a $1.2 trillion deficit in goods. The net result is manufacturing went to China, East Asia, Mexico, etc. So we tried all of that. So the idea that we can just keep saying, well, why don't we just talk a little bit more and we'll have a different outcome, I think just is totally detached from reality.
So we are just trying to restore a healthy equilibrium. That the U.S. economy has become very unbalanced. On one side, we have a forward-leaning, the deepest and widest financial markets in the world. We have financial innovation. We have the tech sector that is the envy in the world. On the other side, we are a natural resources economy led by energy. So it is a barbell, but in between, precision manufacturing, especially precision manufacturing, has been wiped out, and it is our intent to bring that back. So we want to rebalance, and again, the UK and Switzerland have moved to the front of the queue for the trade deals, whereas the EU has been much slower. So we value that also.